Craft gin is everywhere these days, but I still run into people that say they don't like gin. I have a little hypothesis on that. I think that perhaps they just haven't found a gin that they like yet. So today we're making gin for people that don't like gin. How's it going, chasers? I hope you're having a kick-ass week. I'm Jesse, and this is still at the channel all about chasing the craft of home distillation and making it a legitimate hobby. Today we're doing that by making gin for people that don't like gin. So here's the thing, guys. I do run into people a lot that say they don't like gin. Some people, me included, it was just that I didn't like tonic, and that's the only way I ever had gin. Once I had gin by itself, I realized I liked gin, and then for some reason when I put it back into tonic, I love it again. It's weird how your brain does things like that sometimes. But today we have a slightly different goal. Today we're trying to make a gin for people that don't like gin, a gateway gin, to get them into gin, to get them started down that path of appreciating gin. And I know, guys, I know, if you enjoy making gins and there's people in your life that, you know, just aren't into it, it kind of sucks. You want to be able to share that with people, right? Gin's main ingredient on the botanical side is juniper. Juniper to me has three different characteristics. First of all, it has the berry side of things. It is a berry, but that generic fruity, a little blackcurranty, blueberry, boysenberry, sort of in that realm. Then it has the earthiness, almost leaf littery-ish. And then the third side of it, which often dominates gins, is the piney resinous side of things. All of the people that I've run across that don't like gin complain about two things. One is that they say it tastes like medicine. We're making a recipe to try and accentuate the berry and the earthy side of the juniper in the gin without the piney resinous stuff. A little set of jeweler's scales is going to make this much easier. If you have them, use them. You're also going to need a pestle and mortar to smash things up a little bit, and some alcohol. We're using 2 litres of 40% white whiskey made from malted barley. Next up is the usual star of gin, juniper. Now normally for a batch this size, I'd be using somewhere in the 22 to 30 grams. We're dialing that way back down to 18 grams. This is going to cut down on that resinous, piney side of things, and we're going to bring the earthy and the berry back with some other ingredients. Pop the juniper into your pestle and mortar and give it a good smashing, but you're not trying to obliterate it. You just want to kind of crack all the berries to allow access to the insides for the spirit. Speaking of the spirit, you can whack them straight in there. Now, let's get some of that berry flavor back we lost from reducing the juniper. I'm using 10 grams of frozen blueberries. Just like the juniper, you want to crush them a little bit, but you don't want to completely pulverize them. Next up, we have 5 grams of coriander seeds. Now team, use whole coriander seeds and crush them yourself. It's going to taste way better, just trust me on that one. Give it the same treatment as the juniper berries. Next up we have Angelica Seeds, 1 gram of them in fact, and note I said seeds, not root, although you could probably sub them out and get a pretty similar result. We're using these to bring back some of that earthiness, and it pairs super nicely with the flavors coming from the white whiskey. Next up we have the citrus. I'm using 2 smallish shavings of lime and 2 smallish shavings of lemon. Make sure to leave the white pith behind, we don't want that. We just want the coloured flesh of the skin. Close your booze jar up, give it a good little shake to make sure everything's incorporated, and you're going to want to let this sit for sort of 5 to 10 hours before distilling. On to distillation, and I'm using a little mini pot still with an external gas burner, hence the barbecue. Now if you don't have an external heat source like this, you're not going to be able to put the botanicals themselves into the pot, in which case you're going to want to macerate for more like a week. If you have a still like mine that tends to dribble all over the place, a little piece of copper wool in the end will help you wrangle those drips. Get the still warming up, in my case that's gas, and don't forget to seal the still in any way you need to for your operation. I'm using a relatively runny flour paste, and the reason I can use a runny flour paste is you'll see that rim all the way around the edge of the still. It just slots right in there, and this is going to stop any leaks. When the still gets close to producing, turn the heat right down. You want a real low, slow drip when you're making this gin. Collect around about 100 mils of product before you start smelling and tasting to decide where you want to make your cut over to hearts. I made mine at just over 100 mils. You can use that first 100 mils from the first jar for cleaning product or firelighter. Works great. Keep collecting at that slow, low, steady drip until you get to around about 800 mils of product. At this point, you're going to want to start looking and start hunting for your cut point. Just go with what tastes good for you. When you start to run out of decent flavor, go ahead and make the call to kill the heat to the pot. Collect all your hearts into one jar and proof it down to whatever percentage you like. Personally, I'm going with 45% for this. Alright guys, so as you can tell, I'm already halfway through my cocktail here, and I've had a good nudge on the straight stuff too. So I should say too that you really need to let this sit, at least a few days, ideally more like a week. It's had a rough time going through the still, and now you've just dumped a whole lot of water in on it, done all sorts of crazy things to the spirit. It's kind of fractured. It's not one cohesive unit at the moment. It needs to chill and, marry, they often call it. So just to let you know, you should do that, but I'm being impatient and tasting it now. So the finished spirit, right off the bat, does have some influence from the whiskey still, and it is a good influence in consideration of what our goal is. Another thing that gin often does is it presents super dry. It's stripped out of all sugars, and then it has bittering and spicing agents that are added on top, which makes it present super, super dry. Using that white whiskey and not stripping all of the flavor out of it gives us a little bit more body to the spirit, a little kind of sweetness as well. It's a softer, more velvety sort of texture and feeling in your mouth. Now, that graininess and that sweetness that comes from the whiskey plays really, really nicely with both the earthy side of the gin and the berry side of the gin. And in my mind, it brings the two together. And it has some of the flavors that whiskey drinkers are used to as well. So it's a little bit more familiar to people that perhaps they haven't got that much into gin. So, the juniper is definitely less pronounced than a lot of gins, I try and taste these days. Some of that coriander's coming through, probably more the citrusy side of the coriander. But mostly, it's mellow and it's chill. It doesn't taste like medicine. I get just a touch of the blueberry on the palate. I don't get so much on the nose. And the Angelica seed comes in quite a lot at the end of the palate with the earthy sort of borderline spicy, but not quite spicy thing going on. So I think we accomplished exactly what we wanted to accomplish here, guys. We made a gin that doesn't taste like gin, but it's still gin and it leads towards gin. Now, putting it in a cocktail like this does make it disappear a little bit. Let's turn this basically into a double instead of a single. So that's another 10 mils in there, but I've already drunk half the thing, so basically a double. Yeah, I dig it. It's nice. It's subtle. It's not all about that real botanically medicine-y side of things from the gin, but there's still plenty of flavor in there. It's not just like gin light. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I dig it, guys. So there you have it, guys. If you're into gin and there's someone else that you would like to coax down that path, I think this is probably not a bad option for you. I also think that if you want to get into gin on the conceptual side, you want to be able to distill the stuff, you want to be able to make it, you want to be able to play with the flavors, but you're just not really into the gins that you've tried so far, try something like this, man. So before I finish off this entire glass, and probably another 2 or 3 before I finished editing this video, I need to say a huge, huge, huge thank you to the Patreons. Thank you so much, guys. You're the reason I'm here. You're the reason I'm able to do this. You're the reason I'm able to get 3 videos out a week. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. If you are finding value in these videos and you'd like to help ensure that they keep coming, you can go to chasethecraft.com/support to find out all the ways you can help me out. So I'd love for you guys to go out and try this. I'd love for you to come back and let me know what you think of it. And I would really like to hear if this recipe manages to convert some people to gin. All right, guys, I gotta get to editing so I can get this video out for you tomorrow. Stay classy, keep chasing the craft. I'll see you next time. See ya.